I just sent you a picture, texted you, sorry.
Guys, caught me. Thank you. Thank you for whoever
There
said
you
that.
go.
All
There
right.
you go.
Sorry. Okay.
So yeah, we didn't see any of this. We saw
Damn, that's really embarrassing that you were looking at my Google Doc script. Oh my gosh. Hey, well, if that doesn't make you feel more comfortable than me, like totally butchering that, all right. We're just going to run back through that really quickly. This is what we're talking about today, crafting your ideal customer profile and your sales workflow, right? What are our objectives of today? No matter what type of business that you are, you have to identify who your customers are and you need to figure out effective ways to sell to them. And so today, what we're going to be talking to you about and teaching you about is what an ICP is and how to create yours. And then how to create a sales workflow so you can take that ICP, take all the work that we did today, and you can put it to use. Remember what I said, that this is not about Airtable, it's about training, it's about learning how to design systems to understand, sell, and deliver value to your customers. Okay, so we just went over this. We're gonna breeze back through it, right? So go-to-market strategy, which is the game plan for how you're gonna approach selling in order to drive revenue. We have the who, which is, we go back to this flywheel, the who is who's actually going to benefit from your product or service, because these are the people that are most likely to pay. And then we have the how, right? So what's the method or approach you're going to use to effectively sell to them? And this is, now you can see the wheel. It's fully realized. Thank the Lord. At the middle of this, we have the who, which is your ideal customer, right? And this wheel, which is also known as an inbound marketing wheel, shows us from how we take people who are once strangers and turn them into champions and evangelists of our product, who then start naturally kind of selling that through. And what I was saying earlier is, like, have you guys ever used a product or service and it was so fantastic that you couldn't help talking about it and telling other people about it? I know that I have. What's an example of a DC-based business? Like Rasa, which is a Indian fast casual food by Sahil Raman, or Sahil Raman is one of the co-founders of it. We've had the pleasure of featuring one of our video series. And they have such a fantastic product. I just can't help telling everybody that it's so good. And I'm telling you right now that it's so good because I think that it's so good. Okay, so let's get into the juicy stuff, right? What is an ICP? So with so much data available today, there's a lot of different ways in which you're able to benchmark like who the best type of client would be for your products or services. Because ultimately you have to find who is experiencing the specific problem you solve, and is willing to pay for your solution. And so an ICP is a collection of various attributes to describe your client in a very specific way, right? And so at a high level, these are some of the attribute categories we're going to hop into. Some of them you might be familiar with. If not, also great. Please shout out questions, write questions in the chat as we go through. Okay, so I want you to think about demographics, which you guys are, I would assume a lot of people are familiar with, and firmographics as a way to figure out at the most high level who you should be talking to and who you definitely should not be talking to. It helps you separate the right people from the wrong ones. That kind of sounds like a little bit savage, but it's true. And so the reason why I have demographics up here is demographics are specific for, demographics come into firmographics and B2B, but if you're a direct to consumer company, right? So you're either business to customer or business to consumer, or you're a business to business company, or you could be business to government, right? But we're going to be approaching business to business companies and business to consumer companies today, right? And so a lot of these you may be, familiar with. So it's like, how do I break down and better understand who these people or who these companies are? So what you're doing is you're basically drawing like a big circle around a group of people who are most likely to benefit from what you offer. So think of everyone within this circle as a potential customer or a prospect. It's almost like screening. So you're using something like this to screen on who the people I should be talking to and who are the people that I should not be talking to. And so you can be as broad or specific as you want in the beginning. The key thing to remember is that, like, this is just a starting point. And as you continue to execute against your ICP, so to go out in the marketplace and talk to customers and validate and devalidate it, you'll be able to narrow down your target demographic if you're selling direct to consumer, or your target firmographic if you're selling to a business. And so, like, for example, when I started a company that I'm working on earlier this year, we began with like a broad range of clients with a bunch of different traits, but every few weeks we got better at narrowing down exactly who our ideal clients are. And so now my co-founder and I can confidently have conversations because we know who they are and we know how we can help tailor our message to communicate to them that we're the best people suited to solve their problems. Is there any questions? Demographics, firmographics. This is like, you don't have to fill out all of these. These are just kind of examples of information that you can use to kind of create a clear picture of who is your actual customer.
And these data points, or understanding this information or being able to identify this early or even at some point in your journey as a founder is very critical, because it also will help you identify not only externally who your customer is, but also internally some of your unit economics and your pricing, right? When you know how much money your customer makes, where they spend their free time, how many people they have in their family, how much expendable cash they have, you're able to then have communication around your marketing. You can do testing around pricing, and test out the price validity in your certain industry or with your product, right? When you start understanding your customer spending habits and these type of things, it helps you in terms of the 360 and the operations of your business, and even understand the ebbs and flow of your business because you understand the buying and spending habits of your customer.
Totally. And so can you guys see Airtable on the right, this like purple thing that does DCCDC demo base? Can you see my entire screen? Or do you have no clue what I'm talking?
Yes, we can see this.
Okay, cool. Because I was advised to do this in tandem. I was going to save this for the end, but we're going to talk a little bit about it now. So, and we're going to talk about it more in depth at the end. So, but just a quick overview. So like, this is like an Airtable base that I built for this lesson. And here, like inside, or a workspace, right? So this is like one giant workspace. And so these are different bases that hold different information. They're kind of like spreadsheets on steroids. Which is, and we'll tell you at the end kind of like why we selected out Airtable. And so here you can see this is my firmographic information, right? And if you're a direct-to-consumer company, you're not going to have this, right? You may have people, but what you could replace this with is having groupings of your ICP types, right? And then and all the data within those as a way to kind of categorize the different types of customers that you have. And so here you can see my firmographic data, like so location, right? Number of employees, which is the same as over here. I have an annual revenue range, which is right here, and spend. So like how much are they spending on the problem that I particularly solve, like on average. And then if you were to go and like, here's a fake profile of me, this is definitely my phone number, 5555555. But here's like my demographic information, right? And you don't need to include all of this. These are just kind of examples of what this can look like. So here's my age. I'm going to be hitting this bracket soon of 25, which is kind of crazy. And I have a bachelor's degree. I'm currently single. Okay. And my buying behavior, here's like a couple different examples of buying behaviors. Mine is like habitual. Oh, that's super interesting. I've never seen that before. But habitual, right? So when I buy something, I like to buy that thing again. Oh my God, that's so weird. Sorry, how do I do that? Somebody has drawn. Can everybody see that? That there's something drawing on the screen? Daniel, can you look at that for me?
Yeah, I can see. Yeah,
Did I erase it?
it's not bothering anything. It's cool.
Oh my God, look at that. Technology people. Okay. So if you are a firm, like, right, if you're selling B2B, then you're going to see this demographic data in your buyer personas. So we're going to be talking a lot about this ideal customer profile. And if you are a B2B company, then the demographic information, the role, the actual person who's buying your solution may not be the company, is someone at a company, right? It's not like an individual, like a direct to consumer is. Okay. Psychographics. I know this slide looks totally crazy, but I just wanted to make sure you guys had this information. You don't need to be taking it all in now. But psychographics are all about understanding your customer's mindset, values, and motivations. It's about figuring out not just if your product or service is a good fit, but if it aligns with how they think, operate, and whether it would actually be implemented successfully. And so you want to assess if it truly works for the customer, or if there are factors that might put, if you're doing B2B and you're doing projects and you're a consultant, if it would put a project at risk, if it would put the success of them being a reoccurring customer at risk, a lot of things like that, right? Your product has to be a good fit for them, but they really have to be a good fit for your product as well. All right, technographic. So this is really going to be specific to business companies, but technographic data is information about the technology a company uses. So since technology plays such a big role in how all businesses run, understanding what tools and systems they rely on is important, especially if you're trying to sell them a tech product. So a prospective company being a good fit has so much more to do with the sophistication of their internal processes and their tech stack than a lot of other things at like an enterprise organization. So what might we use, or what might we look at to get a better understanding of, their technology stack and their profile? So the technology they're using, what customers out there are using, or sorry. So what technology a company is using? Are they using competitor providers like to your solution that would be an alternative? Where's the technology located inside of that organization? So is sales using it? Is their marketing department using it? Is their customer success using it? The user role. So like what role of the individual in the organization is using that technology, and their start date and duration of use. Okay, so we just covered a couple key areas. I just want to take an opportunity. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts or things that they want to share, aspirations?
I love this. I'm actually trying to refine this for my business now and really understand who my true avatar customer is, like not who I think it is. So I like this all. Thank you.
Awesome. Was your name Josie? Am I saying that right?
Yes. Yes.
Josie, thanks so much for sharing. I love that. Anybody else feel like they want to share? Okay.
How's the journey been for you so far versus like figuring out who your actual customer is versus who you thought it was or initially?
It's been very surprising, and it's also evolving. So as the business matures and we tighten up our branding and do all these other things to kind of elevate the brand, the client shifts and changes as well. So some amazing things are happening, like crazy stuff. So yeah.
Have you seen also the ability to potentially change your pricing?
Yeah, it's definitely changed our pricing. Well, that's how I'm still alive. But the pricing has to change as with everything else. Yeah, it's a point of contention. But as I see other businesses, like I model after like DHL and all these other places that send you these annual rate increase letters very nicely. Like I literally like took some of their verbiage, like this is your annual increase, and it happens in September. That's the best month apparently. I don't know, but yes, the prices have gone up, but also the value and quality goes up too.
Yeah, that is good.
Thanks so much, Josie. And Tiffany, I saw that you were raising your hand. Did you wanna share?
No, yeah, it was just an inquiry with respect to like if you're initiating something involving your family, like would this still all look the same?
So if you said, as in if
Mhm.
you're running a family business, is that your
Yes.
question? Yeah, absolutely. Because this is all information that you're using to better understand your customers. So if your family exclusively was your customer, I guess this would still apply to them, but this applies to anybody. But absolutely, if you're running a family-owned business, because Tiffany, if you don't mind me asking, who is your customer? Who do you currently view as your customer?
So for me, ideally, like my son and I want to do together. So, of course, I would like to appeal to both parents and and children,
Got it.
everyone. Essentially, how our relationship kind of is like, we like to go places where it's something we could find for us.
Got it. Got it. Absolutely. So like, for example, some of the, I was actually thinking about this example earlier today. And so like marital and family status is going to be a good thing, right? So if you're looking for mothers or fathers with children, being able to understand, okay, what does that household look like and who is in that household, right? And maybe like their buying behavior based on that. So like, how do they buy, like, how do they go about buying? Are they buying a lot of the same things consecutively? Do they have some like extra cash on the side and they like to make investment or, purchase things that they may not need at that moment, but they're just kind of really interested in experimenting? And then as well as like I think gender identity can really help you understand, if you're looking for specifically for a mother or for someone who would have a kid that may not, even if they don't consider their gender identity to be female, you kind of get what I'm getting at. And then age, right? So if maybe there's a specific age range for that child that you're kind of directing your products or your services to, and then maybe that family, you would have a better idea of, okay, what are the ages going to be of the parents, so on and so forth. So absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to hop into the next part. We're just going to breeze right through this. So if you're B2B, business situation, which refers to the current circumstances a company is facing, like their challenges, their goals, their priorities, the environment they're operating within. If you take away and you're like, don't look at business and you look at situation, if you're direct to consumer, you can think about this is their personal situation, what's going on in their life, right? So because like understanding the business situation helps you determine one of the most important things, and that is whether now is the right time to approach them. Because if you approach somebody or approach a company and they're not in a buying cycle, then they're not worth spending time with, right? And so it's about knowing what's happening in their world and how you can create and provide value to them in that context. And so business and operating model. So the only way to truly understand the pain a business is feeling is to get an understanding of how things are supposed to be working. Because like every business, just like yours, exists to be profitable. They have systems in place to take their products and services and to turn them into value, generating revenue in the process. And just like you, they have growth and ambitions and a framework for how they operate. So if you can understand their business and operating model, how they generate revenue, you can spot where things might be going wrong. Then you can position your products or services as the perfect solution addressing their specific needs rather than offering, a generic benefits that your product could have for anybody. So this way you can really tailor your messaging and your approach to their unique situation, which makes a ton of difference. And so resources. When we talk about resources, it's about what the organization already needs to have in place for things to work properly. So they need a certain number of people with the right skills. Maybe they need a solid customer base. If you're trying to build a strategic partnership with them, maybe they need to have a partnership program. This is about selling, so partners in selling, but a lot of times like you could have a go-to-market partner. You could have somebody who already has a really large customer base and you work with them and sell through them. And so, yeah, it's about understanding the conditions that are necessary for success and making sure that they have the resources to make your solution work effectively. And so I want everyone to take a second, and given that we've just shared all of that information, I want you to think about who your best customers are right now and the qualities that make them great. Like what are the things about them that have made them really, really fantastic customers? And if anybody feels comfortable unmuting or putting in the chat, would love to hear what you guys are thinking. So, oh, you can only see the Google Doc? What the hell? Hold on.
No, we can see
Oh,
the
sorry. I was looking at my damn, I was just about to, what is my friend Derek says, crash out. Have you guys ever heard the term like crash out? That's what I was just about to do there because I thought that I screwed that up again, and I'm happy that that was just an old text that just landed on my phone. Okay. So does anybody have an example of like who some of their best customers are and the qualities that make them great?
Yes, I would like to share. My name is Yumia, and my business is Vegans Eat Good Too. And at first, when I was doing who my customers are, I put anyone that's health conscious or wants to eat a variety of vegetables and wants to eat more colorfully. You don't necessarily have to be vegan or vegetarian. And now it's still those who are health conscious, but I'm starting to see that I am attracting more individuals that are in intense laborious jobs and that do a lot of intensive work and their muscles, and they just work a lot and they want to replenish themselves and not eat something that is weighing them down after all that labor.
Wow, that's such a great example. Really appreciate you sharing that. Like that's so interesting, right? Like we may originally think we just want people who are health conscious, but when people get access to our product, they're actually looking for like sustainable energy throughout the day. And maybe at lunch, like having a ham sandwich, which has a lot of sodium in it, and meat can feel really heavy for some people. So kind of going back to like the demographics, if you're selling directly to those individuals, maybe you're looking at like occupations, right? So are they looking at
Yes.
construction, right?
Yeah.
Like any type of thing that, or maybe they're an athlete, right? And they're eating a primarily plant-based diet because they're trying to perform, or they want to be in the best shape to perform. That's
Yes,
awesome.
I noticed that I get more yeses or willingness to eat my food or interest in my business from handymen and construction workers and the fire department workers.
Wow, that's super interesting. And like starting to think deeply about this, like now you can take your marketing message, right? And you're not just saying, hey, healthy people who want my product. Now you know where you need to put that marketing. Like, let's say you had a physical poster at all of these construction sites, right?
Mhm.
So it really informs how we go about approaching them and exactly what our message is. Because it's like, maybe it's not, do you want to be healthier, but do you want sustainable energy that's going to last you through the day with one really, really fantastic meal? And you never have to feel sluggish. So that's awesome. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
sharing. Yeah,
Thank
Tom,
you.
go for it.
Yeah, go ahead, Tommy.
Yeah, I have a question and kind of a statement. So I'm an artist, and art is notoriously hard to sell. So you don't even really consider it a consumer product, unless it's something maybe like a print, and you're maybe selling, you maybe mass produce them and then you're selling them at that rate. And a lot of times selling art, it really has to do more with the brand, especially if it's original. And so these type of industries kind of thrive off of like your brand. But, companies like art.com, they pop up and then they're able to sell all of this artwork and they're able to sell it at mass. So, I had this thought of, trying to understand as an artist, how do you kind of tap into that? So I guess the real question is, with limited marketing budget and really making these even when you create your ICP, it's still kind of still kind of experimental, and so you essentially have a very small. I guess my question is, it's like,
Yeah.
how do you propose creating, or how do you propose doing small marketing experiments to be able to get quick results so that you could determine what to put real money behind when you have a limited budget, especially with a company like I said, that sells like prints of artwork that can be reproduced, so it's treated like a product, but still not like food or like healthcare products or anything like that.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll hop in, Catherine. I think you're asking a very layered question. I think art, because of the different mediums, it lends itself for different levels of how to create your business structure. But I think it goes back to something that Catherine said earlier. And maybe if you like, can find mentorship or somebody who has already created a business model that you like, then you can replicate it in the art space. But particularly most art is usually direct to consumer or lives in a space where people can then go and buy it. So whether you have your art in a gallery or you have it in a restaurant with a price tag on it is up to then the customer to then, decide that they like the art. Now, if you're making pieces that are, being you're being requested to make them, then that's a different thing. But if you're looking for quick hitters to understand a particular demographic that you are interested in, right? So for example, let's say you've identified like, hey, I would like to sell art to people that make at least $250,000, have expendable cash, have an empty nest, right? Like you've created what that demographic looks like, right? Then it's up to you to do customer discovery, right? Have whether it's small discussion groups, create other opportunities where you have mixers to have conversations of right, what type of art are they interested in, what they would be willing to pay for, right? It is not, particularly with an industry like art, you can't create and then search for your artist. It has to be a mix, or you being able to identify what the price point you're willing to create and sell your art at, and then reversely then sell it or give it back to your audience. And so you can't, yeah, it's a sliding scale, and it can kind of change from medium to medium. But great question.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Daniel. And just building off that really quickly, Tommy, when it comes to selecting, like if you're a fine artist, right, and you're making custom pieces, like one of a kind pieces, you want to try to get in the head of the people that would be buying your artwork, right? And so what are the things that they care about? So you could go back to the psychographics, absolutely, and try, and the best way to find this information, the first stop to doing that is in your own data collection, which we're going to get to in just 1 second. So like, what do they care about? Like, does your art have a particular message? Do you yourself, the art, a lot of times people purchase work for like the art itself, but also like the art, who the artist is, right? And what they stand for and what their vision is and what they're trying to communicate to the world, or the things that can really move people. And so one way is direct to consumer, right? There's also, are you trying to get into a gallery? Are you trying to get into a space? Like the marketing for that is going to look a lot differently than it would for maybe like if I'm creating a t-shirt, right? And I want people to buy my t-shirt. You may be looking for a partner, actually, like a go-to-market partner. And who could your go-to-market partner be? It could be a gallery that oftentimes hosts artists' work around a specific thing. So like one of my favorite art museums in DC is the Rubel. And so maybe they have a collection, and there's an opportunity for you to be a part of a collection there that is making a statement about like a something that is happening in the world and that is impacting people, right? And so people are going to go to that gallery to go see that show, right? Are going to go see that exhibition. And if your work is there, then that's like the first step to exposure. So if you get a little bit creative thinking of, okay, what are all the avenues that I can reach these people, and who are the people that I want to reach? Then I think that hopefully that like answered Daniel and I's combination answered that. Maybe. If not, we can talk more afterwards. But thanks so much, Tommy. All right. So we're going to speed through the last bit of this. So data collection, right? So here. So when it comes to understanding your customer, there are 4 key types of data you can leverage. Zero-party data, which is what customers share directly with you, giving you clear insights into their needs. You can capture that like on a survey, you can capture that like on an interview, like a video call conversation that you record. First-party data comes from how they interact with your business, like if they're on your website or through emails, how they're interacting with you through these different channels. Second-party data is the data that's collected through partnerships. And third-party data is gathered by outside vendors offering a broader market view. So each type provides a unique angle to help you better understand your target and your target customers and how to best serve them. And so these are some key questions that you can ask. Whether you're gathering data to identify your ideal customer, you can go about asking, what does an ideal customer look like? Consider their size, the spend, the industry, or some of those demographics. What are their key characteristics? What are their psychographics? Like, what do they care about? What do they value? If it's a company, what size is their company? How much, or not, what is their type of business? And who are their primary customers? So what are their main goals? What technology and tools do they use? What triggers drive their buying decisions? And this is like my favorite one. It's what makes a customer not a good fit. Like setting clear disqualifiers is really, really nice to be able to kind of put people in say, okay, these are the hard things that we know that they're not a good fit if they have those qualities. Really quickly, any questions on kind of like that data collection piece? Okay, no questions on data collection. I'll give it 2 more seconds.
Oh yeah, I do have a question.
Okay.
For me, I'm trying to figure out what's a good platform to do like message marketing or email marketing to people. Because at first I was just writing down their names and their number and their email and then sending it from my phone. But I know there's a efficient way to do that.
Got it. So that actually leads into our next section. Really great, right? Because our next section is going to help us understand. That's like an example ICP, is going to help us understand based off of what we're trying to achieve, like that process that you're talking about itself of what am I trying to do? Why am I trying to do it? And what type of platform would I need to support that? Right. And so we're actually going to give you the tools coming up for you to be able to discover this, but that's also something that I don't have any off the top of my head. But we can absolutely continue to talk about that.
Okay.
And I think the next section will address kind of some of those things as well.
Okay.
So really quickly, this is what a sample like B2B ICP would look like. It could just be in a document. It doesn't, this is direct to business. And you guys are going to get this deck. And so you'll be able to look into like all of the details. So definitely don't worry if because I know we're going to fly past this because we have like 10 minutes left and I have to get through a bunch of stuff. Also, you're going to have access to this from startup to scale up. So this is another framework for creating your ICP. And this one is how to activate it. It creates like a really great structure for you to use to do that. And I really love this format from startup to scale up. Okay, so this is what I want you guys to think about in the back of your head as we go through this next section. And we're going to talk about it at the end. So which essential processes in your business, if they were optimized, would it significantly improve the efficiency of your entire business? Here we go. Sales workflow. Everybody lock in. Does anybody Okay, so when it comes to sales workflow, this is like a really high level view of the main pieces. And we're looking at this as it specifically pertains to sales. So these are the people that are involved. You have your customer, right? The person who you're trying to sell to. You as the owner, the founder, and your employees are the ones that are engaging in this process to effectively sell to them. And we're going to talk a little bit about these different, prospecting and qualifying in 1 second. But so the people involved in your sales process, and these are the core sales processes. So prospecting, qualifying, contacting, educating, and delivering. These feed into like core business functions. One, prospecting and qualifying is lead generation. Educating is sales enablement, which is like marketing. So we market to, attract people to, and make them aware of what we're selling, but we also use marketing to educate them on exactly how our product or service can fit their needs. So prospecting is about identifying potential customers who fit our target audience. Qualifying is evaluating these leads to make sure that they're a good fit and worth pursuing. Contacting is exactly what it sounds like, reaching out to these leads through emails, through calls, through meetings. Educating is providing that information, answering questions, and positioning our offerings as the best solution. And then finally, delivering. So finalizing the sale and ensuring that your products and services are delivered as promised and establish the foundation for future relationships. Okay, and so here you can kind of see that sales operations pulls all of these different processes into it. And so we're kind of generating the analytics here to have an overview of how is this all working. And so our lead generation ties specifically back to what we were just talking about, like our ICP data, which is what would go in a CRM, a customer relationship manager, which I think several of you are familiar with. Our sales enablement marketing generates data like content engagement metrics. So what marketing materials have we created and how engaging are they, right? And the data that we collect on like what's working and what's not working, which ties into our analytics. And then when it comes to sales ops, lead conversion rate, so how many of the leads that we're getting actually convert into a paying customer? Our sales cycle length. So how long does it take from first, prospecting a customer to closing with them? On average, how long does that take? Pipeline velocity. So how many pipeline velocity, which also ties into win rate, provides insights into how quickly deals are moving through our pipeline and the success rate of our efforts. And then finally, CAC, which is customer acquisition costs, helps us monitor the cost effectiveness of our sales and our marketing activities. And all of this data that is generated by these activities goes into this analytics bucket. And our ICP data that we just talked about in the section before would go into our CRM. And so this kind of just breaks down what I was just talking about: prospecting, identifying the potential customers, qualifying, evaluating those leads. Do they fit our ICP target criteria? Contacting them, educating them, the insights, the resources that demonstrate how our solution addresses their specific needs, and then ensuring that that product or service is seamlessly delivered to them and it meets their expectations, all the promises that you made. So I'm just going to stop right there. Are there any immediate questions on that before we hop into the last part? I'll give it a second. I know that was a lot, but I'm also happy to take time afterwards and stick around for those who want to talk about really specific things, or find another time to talk through these topics. So using this, so this is like the is someone raising their hand? Please speak, please share.
Yes, hi. I had a question. The last flow chart that you showed, was that for like a business to business pipeline, or was that also business to customer?
So you can use this for either. It's going to look a little bit different, right? And the data is going to look a little bit different, but there are ways for you to go about tracking this information if you're selling direct to consumer, right? Like, let's say I have a physical store somewhere, or I have like at markets and I'm selling my products or services. Maybe I'm not tracking leads through emails, but I'm tracking it through those physical interactions. Like somebody's interested in your product, they walk up and maybe you're selling like baked goods or something. I don't know why that's the only thing that I can think about. They pick it up, you're kind of looking at them, try to initiate a conversation to learn more about them, be like, hey, what do you like about these things? What attracted you to my stand here or my shop? Like, can I learn more about you? And it's like, hey, can I get your contact information? Because we have some really exciting things that are happening. That just turned into a prospect, right? So now you have the entry point to the ability to engage with them, to learn more about them, and have a better understanding of how to track them being a, you know, random off the cuff customer to somebody who is like reoccurring at your business. Does that kind of make it a little bit more like this visual, a little bit more applicable or understandable in the context of direct to consumer?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So we just covered all of this. You guys will have access to these materials. We did the questions. Okay, so I know this may look a little bit crazy, but this is was super enlightening for me. And I think it's a really great framework to be able to think about building workflows and building systems. So this input, process, output helps us to design and understand workflows more effectively. So an input, this is what we need to start to feed the workflow, like resources or information. By identifying the inputs, we can make sure that each step has what it needs to move forward. The process is what happens to transform the input into desired outcomes. Breaking down each step helps us see the flow of work, spot any issues, find opportunities to simplify and automate tasks. And finally, output. This is the final result we want from the workflow. Knowing the output helps us measure success and make sure each step is working towards our ultimate goal. And so the way that I like to think about this is like you're baking a cake, right? So you have all of these different ingredients and those are your inputs, right? And alone, they're these really separate things. But the process is what makes them into a cake, right? So like you're whisking together the butter and an eggs, you're preheating the oven, you're doing all of these things. And then the final output itself is your desired goal, right? You didn't want to eat raw eggs and flour as your dessert. You wanted to have like a really delicious cake. And so technology, like the technology platform only serves to digitize this, right? Like that's what a CRM is, digitizing this. And ultimately the goal is to automate it, right? So things that you were doing manually, you no longer have to do manually. And I want you to know that each of these processes, just like we saw back here, creates data that we can turn into insights. Insights is just information we can use to learn how to run our business and deliver value to our customers better. So if anybody says data and you're like, oh, I don't really data is just information. That's it. It's just knowledge, information. So as you begin working on this process of like, what does your sales workflow look like? Here's some really great questions to get you started. So output, what's the goal? Like you usually want to start from what you're trying to achieve and not like your inputs. It can be kind of hard to abstractly think about that. So what's the goal? What's the outcome we're trying to achieve? Process. What are the main steps that we need to do to get there? So what activities need to happen from start to finish? Input. What information or resources are required for each step? Data. What information do we need to collect? And what are the decisions that need to be made right throughout that process? And what information is necessary to make them? And finally, people, who's involved, right? Who needs to be doing what at each step? Those are like our tasks within those processes. And so this is a zoomed out view of kind of like, and this isn't like a perfect image, but I do think that it nicely encompasses the relationship between the buying process and some questions that you can ask. This says he, and so it could be, and it could be she or whatever. So just ignore that. I don't know whoever made this. I think this is an old graphic, but what happens on the customer side? How do we get in touch with them? What information do our customers need? And then here on the right, you can see kind of like these are the different either activities or ways to kind of categorize that information. And then what should be achieved and how, who is involved, what systems are necessary. So you guys will have access to this. I think this is also a great example. And so everything that we built earlier that we walked through kind of the ICP, the marketing campaign. I put this together to help you understand what one of these workflow documents might look like. And I used this to create this Airtable. You may see your business in here. I tried to enter in some examples, but really quickly, just want to walk through this. So this is my input. So I'm using my ICP to create marketing materials, and I use those marketing materials to go through the process of developing a marketing campaign. That ultimately, the outcome of that is it generates leads. I add these leads, the lead ICP data to my CRM. So what would that look like, right? So we've seen this before. Here's kind of what some of the contact information may look like. Here we can zoom mine out, which you saw earlier. This is my lead ICP data. And so how do I turn into from a prospect to a qualified potential customer, right? And so that's something that we would track on, and you guys can have this Airtable. Like I can copy and duplicate it. Airtable is free. You guys can have the thing that all of this that I structured out. So don't worry about that. But here you can see some of those steps from our original process here, all the way back here, right? So I have qualify, I have prospect, I have contact, I have educate. These are my different my sales stages that these different customers are going through, or potential customers of mine. And yeah, so I'm trying to identify who is great and who is qualified. And so if I zoom in here, I can see that, okay, this stage, they're in the qualified stage, but I scored the opportunity is that they were a bad fit, right? Like they didn't fit my ICP really well, and it's not really great timing. And so that kind of can give us some insights into if we should move forward with them or not. If it's a bad fit, your opportunity, kind of the way that you're scoring that out, probably not a good idea to spend a lot of time with them. So is it a qualified lead? If not, bye. If it's a qualified lead, yay. Contact that lead, right? We want to talk to them. We want to begin the process of actually selling to them. And so educating the lead, maybe the input to creating an educated lead is offering education materials and having conversations with them. And what that outputs is an educated lead who is more likely to close, like who's more likely to become a customer. And then are they ready to purchase? If they're ready to purchase, close the deal, deliver, and the outcome is ultimately a delighted customer. Questions? Okay, I'm going to speed through this last bit. Remember when I said good timing, bad timing? I'm going to actually open up this Airtable right here so you can see this interface that I built, which you all have access to, and kind of what the functionality like. Again, Airtable is like a glorified spreadsheet, but it allows you to capture information a bit more dynamically. And so if we go here, why am I recommending that you use Airtable for your workflows? One, it's free. It enables you to design, track, and automate your workflows quickly without coding. So like no code, low code. And like that automation piece is what we're going to talk about next week is going to be really helpful. Like I use this in my business to deliver to customers, like use Airtable. So I can directly speak from that standpoint. But also if you've been using something that's similar to Airtable, like a ClickUp, like these platforms are not super different and they can all be really great. So you just need to figure out what works for you. It's not about the technology. It's about what are you trying to achieve and what is how well is that technology suited to help you achieve that thing? Usually open source extensible technology is like the way to go. And so I just want you guys to take a look at here when we're talking about qualifying the lead stage and how do they fit our ICP? Do they fit our target group? Are they sales ready? Here's just a little matrix, right? And I thought this was really cool. I found this graphic, and you could even have a survey. Like if you had a customer and you're like, hey, what was the reason that you stopped buying at our store, or that you ultimately, decided not to renew or not to buy from us in the first place? And maybe they're like, hey, just wasn't good timing. I got a lot of stuff going on. I can't be making purchases like that. Totally fair. But that's insights for you all to use to better understand where they're currently at. So here I just created a really, really quick dashboard in terms of, you can see the stage of where they're at in the sales cycle, the offering. So if I go back to my data here, this is like what I like to call kind of like the marketing enablement, like the sales enablement materials. So this is the thing, the specific thing you're trying to sell to them. If you're direct to consumer and you're a product business, I mean, imagine this is a bakery and these are all of your different baked goods and this is how much they cost. And these are all the people who have bought them in the past. And those are all the kind of qualities that you can use to understand about who those people are. And so here you can use that to kind of go back to this interface and saying, okay, now I can bring all this information together. I know the stage of this customer. Here I created a function, which, you know, here you can see the name of the account, like DC City Smokehouse. And then this is the offering. Here's the offering. And then you can't see the account on here because I blocked it off. But you can see their opportunity score actually organize these from good to bad fit. So you see the best ones at the top, who the point of contact is. So it's like, at that company, who am I talking to, or who is that customer? And then how long did the sales cycle take? So I did this in days. Like it took 3 days. So I could look at the average of how long does it actually take for me to sell to a customer. And so if you look down here, created this sales opportunity stage overview so I can see, okay, what percentage of each stage are my current deals in? So like 33.3%, I have an equal amount that is won and lost. That's not that great. But I might want to look at this to have a better understanding of, okay, which one's won and why, and which one's lost and why, and maybe I shouldn't be spending time with these people. Maybe I should spending double the amount of time with these people. And then here, there's 2 pieces of information coming together. There's the stage that you're looking at over here. And then we're also taking some of this opportunity score, good fit, bad timing. And so you're able to look at that in one place. So here I can see that the opportunity score is good. The stage is won and closed. The number of opportunities for two opportunities, they were good and I closed them, right? And what was my offering for those? Like, that's something that I would think about looking at. So like, what did I sell to them? The people that kept coming back and reported out that they had a good experience. And then this is an example of kind of the task dashboard, which you can go about making in Airtable. So here you can see that I have a task which is associated with a project. You know, you may not have projects, and so that may not be relevant. But I can see the status of that task. And this is one of my favorite functionalities in Airtable is you can go and use these filters right here. So I can click at like the highest level thing, and I can make it so that I can click and see, okay, these are my tasks. So these are the ones that are only assigned to me. So if you were to look at, here, let me see if I can open this. So my tasks here, let me do that here. That's so weird. Okay, I don't know why it's not letting me edit this, but I have a filter that says only show me the tasks that are assigned to the person who is like, whose account this is. And for this one, due this week, it says, here are the conditions I was looking for. So for this due this week, so I want to look at the task where the due date is a week from now. This is screwed up because I didn't make any tasks that were like this coming week. So, but just imagine this is like not 1 week from now, but it is, I think it's 1 week prior, like this past week was what I was originally going to do. And the assignee is the current user. That's what I was talking about before. And then this shows you all tasks. And so in my task, this is the condition I was talking about earlier. So assignee is the current user. And then one really good thing that I think I passed over here, this one, I want to look at the sales cycle within the next week, right? So sales that I made this week and the ones that I won. So these are so I could look total, okay, this week, how many sales did I close? And I know we're like oh my God, we're 8 minutes over. I'm so sorry, everybody. I totally didn't mean to run over. Well, that is the presentation. Thank you all so much. Again, I really apologize for running over. That was a ton of content to cover, but really appreciate being here and being engaged. And I'm going to be sticking around afterwards if anybody has any questions or wants to walk through anything.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Great questions today, guys. Thank you for being here. You know, it's late on a Thursday, but thank you for choosing to continue to support your business and your dreams and pushing them forward by getting this content.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And yeah, if anybody wants to stick around, if anybody has any questions, I'm right here. So
Yeah, I wanted to revisit the conversation we were having about the artwork.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
the only thing I would change, it's not that you guys were wrong, but I think that there was a little bit of context missing.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
I'm looking at it from the perspective of, let's say, an art wholesaler,
Mhm.
and I'm not selling original artwork. I'm selling reproductions. So I'm still a business, and I'm selling. Since I'm selling a wholesale product, I'm selling in mass. But let's say that instead of selling other people's artwork, I'm selling my own artwork in wholesale because
Sure.
I reproduce it. So that would be like the slight difference. And so I understood your point about focusing on the galleries and focusing on a customer, essentially who has some kind of who identifies with the artwork. And that is definitely, I think, the traditional way to go about it. But I imagine like a website like Artsy who sells artwork, um, but they sell a lot of different varieties. So how do you think that they go about creating an ideal customer profile? Because I imagine that it has less to do with what type of artwork you want and more to do with why you want it, I guess. But I'm just curious to hear your point of view.
Sure. So I'm not familiar with the platform, and thank you so much for providing the context. It's like you all as business owners are going to have so much better, like you understand your business and you understand exactly who you're delivering to, right? In a way that I definitely do not understand, like to the same detail. Um,
Yeah.
so I really appreciate you sharing that. I think that's really great feedback. And so is that platform, is it like a marketplace? So I would go
Yeah,
on.
exactly. It's like a marketplace.
Okay. And so your question is, how does a marketplace understand who their ideal customer profile is? Is that correct? Like who
Yeah.
they're actually
Yeah, when
selling?
they're selling a variety of different pieces and they're all just prints and reproductions,
Okay.
so it's affordable. So we obviously know that people are buying it because they can afford it. Um, but I guess the only um, kind of insight I picked up just from being a customer on the site is that they provide you a marketplace. You can choose all these different pieces, and they're affordable, and that was it. But I imagine that maybe it's a little there's more to the customer profile than just that.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're wholesaling, then you would have to have a company, are you selling, maybe you're not, if it's wholesale, right? Am I correct that you're selling lots of art to like one, not necessarily an
Well, I'm the
individual?
wholesaler, so I'm purchasing all the artwork, but I'm selling it to individuals.
Okay, you're selling it to
And
individuals.
so imagine if I have like a website, and that's all
Yeah,
artsy is. So have you ever bought like a poster
yeah.
or, you know,
So
um,
that's a good question. This is the way that I mean, I think going back to like because your customers could be like direct to consumer. You could also have a business who's buying art to like put up in their shop or at their
exactly,
office, right?
exactly,
So, um, and so you would have to have a specific there's art that you could put up in a business, and there's art that you probably can't put up in a business. You know what I
right,
mean?
exactly,
Like,
exactly,
so that's how I kind of backwards work it. I think about what is the actual type of art that I'm selling and who would buy this and why would they buy it? And can I test out those assumptions? Right. So can I find people to put it in front of who may be those stakeholders as you do customer discovery to figure out who they are? So could you go and approach maybe a more corporate business owner and say, what type of, do you guys have art in your office? Like, I mean,
right,
everybody should have art in their office, right? Um,
right.
what what would like, and so I would actually maybe even think about this. what organizations who have a lot of money have opened new offices recently,
Right.
right? Like, because that may give me a signal that they need to furnish this office and they may want art to put in that office, right? And maybe they're a specific type of business, and I have art that I've sold to multiple businesses of this specific type before. And like maybe it's a food-based business and you have like a selection of like food art, right? Like really
Right.
full
Right.
creative. Then it starts to narrow down. So it's like, oh, they just opened up a new restaurant of this type of business in this location. These are the things that may help you better understand if they're like a qualified lead, right? Like if they
Mhm.
could actually be, and they always have to be somebody who has money. And then I also think about, I kind of lost my train of thought, but I also think about if I'm selling to a business, I like, here's another opportunity like that. Like maybe you're not selling directly to that one business. Maybe you're selling to like a restaurant group. So there are then these like larger parent organizations that own all of these organizations. What I was thinking about, maybe you're actually selling to like interior designers, you know?
Right.
And so the end user, the end beneficiary is could be anybody, right? But your buyer and your ICP are different if you're selling to another business, right? Same thing if you're selling directly to a consumer. But if you're wholesaling a lot of art, right, meaning you're buying a lot of art and therefore you have to move a lot of art, may want to think about what type of art am I bringing in and who would want this, and can I go out and talk and test and see, is that kind of more on par with what?
Yeah. So then my question was about customer discovery, and I was curious, and anybody else can answer this too. What methods would you use to kind of test out the art? Like, for instance, a customer discovery could be, hey, you know what? I have set up a booth. I let people try the food like they do at Costco. And then if you like it, people buy it right there. And that's a pretty simple way to figure it out. In this situation, I've tried different things. Very curious to see other people's thoughts about it. Like, should I let them have a trial? I let them hang the artwork in their office space for, a month. Will that really matter? Should I give away some pieces? Should I do the influencer route? Like, what would be an interesting way to kind of go about this that you think for artwork? Like, do you feel like they have to see it? They have to feel it. It has to be in the place, you know what I mean, for it to really have its effect.
I'll let does anybody have any thoughts, ideas? I mean, it's like the best learning that I ever did
I
is from,
do.
go for it.
I'm not sure if you already have, but a lot of marketplaces and like pop-up vending events, they actually want art. And I see the need for wanting more art or clothing or crafts than food in some of these spaces.
Mm, yeah, thank you.
And you should look on Facebook. That's what I did. I joined different Facebook groups, or just go type in any type of event that you're looking for, like art event or wellness event or music event. Those are the type of events that usually want craft or some type of art.
Yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think Josie wrote in the chat some really great, want to get the art into businesses, host partnered events and galas with target customers. That's great, Josie.
Yeah, and when
So,
you have someone who has, I'm sorry, just jumping in there. It's an idea, and this is something that I really wanted to do with my spa. We target someone who has an avatar client that's similar, and they may have access to that larger funnel that we were talking about, like the corporate buyer. And you're able to position your art, show it, maybe do small set up a one-off. Something like it's like kind of like that stuff that you're able to keep the art and fill in the space and get the art out there.
Thanks so much, Josie. Had a little bit of a hard time hearing you, but I
yeah,
were you both
typical, but I
to,
think we got the
I know you're
gist
like
of
on
it.
are you like on a You're
we had to
on
do a
an
trade show.
airplane. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's crazy. That's dedication. Well, I hope you both get to connect afterwards. I think Josie had a lot of great insights that I totally agree with. So definitely want to get those. I hope Josie has a safe flight. In addition to other suggestions, Carmen, thanks so much for adding. You could incorporate an app that allows people to see the art in their space, some augmented reality. Yeah, that's a really interesting, or maybe
Yeah,
like maybe you're not building the app yourself, but maybe there's already an app that exists that does that. And you're like, and that's like a go-to-market partner, right? Or
right,
somebody
right.
to work with, because it's like, you don't want to reinvent the wheel. And if your core business is delivering really fantastic art to your customers, then usually you want to, it's like the channels, the core business, and then your different ICPs and who they could be. So I think when I was talking about the gallery, that was more like of an awareness channel. But I think that the different like vendor events, like I think about like art at like different markets and vintage markets that I've seen around here. Like I think that was spot on. That's a way that people can see it in person, and you can kind of try to capture that direct feedback from them. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you.
yeah, no problem. Does anybody else have anything that I'm surprised that everybody stuck around so long. So I feel thank you.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
how do
was
we get
gonna
access
say
to
the
the
vendor events also, like big events, like one venue I pass all the time is like the Walter Reed. And one event I attended with a few friends this year was like the Bridal Expo and the natural hair care holistic expo too there, which was really, really big. Excuse me, but stuff like that when you catch event planners early and like exhibit the stuff there is really, really good to exhibit your stuff there too.
Totally, totally. And my co-founder introduced me, like when you're to this idea of when you're an early stage company, it's kind of like you're trading paper clips. And we talk a lot about like, you got to give to get. And so maybe that first customer is not like a paying customer, right? Maybe you can let them experience your art and see how it attracts people to that specific space, by saying, hey, I just want you to put it up and I want you to tell me what people think of it, right? Like that sometimes when you calculate like that, if that creates a lot more business opportunities, that it may have been worth it to kind of forego that first sale so you could get the next 15. Okay. So is there anything that anybody else wants to talk about that's like specific to their business or specific to Airtable, or walking back through any of these things that we talked about tonight?
Yes, I actually had a question. I know my name says Andres Bassett, but I just used her link. She sent me her link. My name is Chelsea. My question is Airtable a fee-based service or product that we have
Oh,
access to?
like free? Yeah, it's free.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So if you want, like, all you have to do is go on Airtable, right? So let's do this. Airtable. And you can even have this Airtable that I built. Oh my God, I want like the home page. Let's go to Google. So yeah, this is what it looks like. It's airtable.com. Here, just to prove it to you, free. So it's free for individuals or very small teams that are just getting started. You get unlimited bases. So you can build like unlimited of these. I mean, this is all, like, I'm using the free tier right here. You can have up to 1,000 records per base. You can have 5 collaborators on it with you. 1 gigabyte of attachment. So if you're like uploading documents, and then you can run 100 automations for free. And you have that interface designer, which we showed you over here. Which one? Here's the interface. So yeah, and that's why I selected it out, is because it's free and because it's like really well known in the open source community. for being really easy to use. So you can use it with a bunch of other stuff. It doesn't like hold you down. It's kind of just like a really great place to keep your information. But like, again, there's like ClickUp. And so some people may think that like a ClickUp is more attractive. This is like a steroid version of Google Sheets. So, but I really like it. And one of my really deep tech data engineering partners, he talks about it all the time and how great it is. So I'm like, if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm happy if anybody wants to reach out to me and set up like a 30-minute call and go through on building like your own Airtable, happy to take that time out and do it. So definitely let me know.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. All right. Any other final thoughts, questions? I don't know if these 4 other people are even there. They may just be
Yes,
sleeping.
I'm here. I'll take you up on that offer. I was gonna type.
Okay, take me on the offer. Nice.
Yeah. All right. Have a nice evening then.
All right, take care,
Yes,
Amanda.
thanks. Bye-bye.
Oh, I have something else.
All right.
Um,
I've been waiting. I'm like, you're sitting there so politely, so quietly, waited so patiently. All right.
It's not a question, but it's a thought that I'm thinking about doing. So I don't have a website